on the next Wonder Falls.
Pat,
Fat Pat.
welcome to our home.
Get it away! You guys suck!
I don't want this night to end either.
Monday at 10 on Vision TV. Tonight on Vision TV. Documentaries. History, mystery, travel and treasure on Vision TV Documentaries.
Everything in a church is intentional. It is trying to talk. And if you listen to its language, you will learn something. A church is ritual made solid. It is meaning expressed by things. So it's material and spiritual at the same time. It orients our souls. This is built up by traditions, built up by all the forebears that went before us. You join the tradition. You're the next stage in the tradition. This has made us what we are. Well, people might think, because they see benches and a performance, that a church is like a theatre, but it's the other way around. A theatre is like a church. A church is the original. The church deliberately seeks to awaken in you the memory of the mystical experience you have already had. When a religious ritual works, it blows your mind and it touches you at the profoundest level of your soul. It has sympathy for you. There is sympathy for your suffering. There is love here. This is the story of one church that represents all churches. And what I most want is for people to realize how rich and profound the meaning is that can be found in any church. And if you know what's going on, you can have a fantastic experience of the richness of life, of the goodness that is in the world. That's what a church is about. This particular church is called Saint Agnes Outside the Walls in Rome. Very little is known about Agnes. The Emperor Diocletian had made a decree that all Christians must adore the Roman gods. And Agnes said, if you kill me, go ahead, but I'm not going to do what you say I must do, because I'm going to do what I believe to be right. She refused and was executed. She died on the 21st of January in the year 305. She was buried in a cemetery, a catacomb, underneath this church. The Christians never forgotten the death of that 12-year-old girl for the last 1,700 years. My name is Margaret Visser and I'm Canadian. I was born in South Africa, and at the age of 17 I went to London to learn to be a journalist. And there I met my husband. We arrived in Canada in 1966. My husband put me through university, and then I started teaching classics. at York University, and I often taught people who didn't want to know anything about ancient Greeks and Romans. And my job was to say, look, you don't think this is interesting? Listen to me. My job has always been to explain ordinary things and how rich they are. And I decided to choose an ordinary church. And I sat down and I tried to think which church it would be, and I whittled them down. I did all this work in the Robarts Library in Toronto. Having whittled it down to 2, I chose a big one and a little one, and I realized the big one would take me 20 years. So I thought I'd take a little one. But the library prepared the way. Oh, you know. And it's amazing what happens just wandering through the stacks, the ideas that you find, and the thinking, oh, I finished this, and I'm going to do that after. You know, it's well, it's an adventure. It's like doing archaeology. You find things. I write by hand because I find that you have time. You know, there's something organic about writing. That's the way I work. I would never have imagined myself writing about a church. Absolutely never. This is something extraordinary to me. And I would never have imagined that it would be in Rome. None of this entered my mind. Just being in Rome is like plunging into the ocean. It's vast. You can't possibly get your mind around Rome. I came and lived nearby in a little apartment. We would spend about 4 months at a time in Rome and then come back again. It was just a privilege to do it. Well, when you see it, I mean, you just see this little a small church with its back to the road, made of brick and a tower. And it doesn't look like anything on the outside. A Christian is supposed to have an unassuming exterior and be very humble, but inside, rich, spiritually rich. It took me 4 years of solid work in 7 languages to understand what this little, tiny church means. When this church was founded, I mean, the Roman Empire was still very powerful. Agnes was buried here and almost immediately had a shrine here in 305 AD. The early Christians, they would walk out of Rome to visit the grave of a 12-year-old girl. It's fascinating because this is physically turning a whole civilization on its head and saying, no, we don't want gold, we don't want marble, we don't want your army, we're not interested. We're interested in Agnes. The church has changed over the centuries. There were no pews, it was just a bare floor, because people used to stand to pray. It was like this. It wasn't this, it was this. As you can see from the statue of Agnes, she's praying and she's praying like this. So it's standing, not sitting or kneeling. This church is in the back of my mind. It's always with me, even when I'm not here. I'm so grateful to come back and see it again. Because the tomb was underground, the church is on the level of the tomb. So therefore, this church was half buried in a hill. The church was dug out in 1600. And we remember that this is the age of the Baroque. They wanted light and clarity and grandeur. This was a hill, right? And the church would have stuck out at the top of the hill. And there we have the door. That is the front door. It gives you the idea of how high the earth was. This was tons and tons and tons of graves here that were dug out in 1600. For 1,300 years, the church was buried, and that was where you went in the front door. This was created much, much later. You can get the idea here. This is where the hill went. In Rome, it's a tradition for the founder of the church to be shown holding his church in his arms. The part that's his purple cloak is the underground, where we are standing now. It's the catacombs underneath, and the church poking out above his arm. You don't just wander in to Sant'Agnese's. In order to get from Via Nomentana to the place where you can go down into the church, you've got to go through a dark passage, then a courtyard. And you've got to have quite a lot of courage to say, oh, this is a monastery, I'm just marching in here. Then another passage and a tower, and getting there needs a little bit of effort. Religion is about wanting it, desiring it. You open the door and you think, oh, and you look down and you realize you've got to go down a long staircase to get in. It's always surprising. In the past, it was a dark passage lit only by little holes in the walls. It was considered quite daring to go down there because women wouldn't. On the walls are these little fragments of marbles referring to early Christian people with their names in Latin and Greek. And you really feel that they're almost there, like whispering voices on either side of you as you go down the stairs. In all cultures, I think, there is this image of going deep down. In Virgil's Aeneid, he has to go down to where Mother Earth lives. This is a very ancient archetypal image, going deep and there finding the answer.
Do different hair colors deserve the same treatment? Nice and Easy doesn't think so.
That's why there's a customized Color Seal gloss for your color. Brunettes and reds get their own conditioning formula, and so do blondes, each designed to prolong the life of your color. So instead of mousy and dull, brunettes remain rich and reds remain radiant. Forget brassy, blondes stay bright and shiny.
And guess what? Color lasts until you're ready to color again.
It's custom Color Seal gloss, and it's only in Nice and Easy. From Claro.
Hi, I'm Kathy Mitchell, and this is Gem Magic. It's the amazingly simple tool that lets you create eye-popping fashions in just seconds. Position the fabric and press. It's that simple. If you can use a stapler, you can use Gem Magic. In just seconds, turn a sales rack bargain into a complete knockout. Add sparkle to worn-out home decor, and for holiday decorating, the possibilities are endless. Create your own designs or use one of my Gem Magic patterns to make hundreds of fashions that will look great and amaze you, your friends, and your whole family. Just place, position, and press. It's that simple and that much fun.
One-step stars, one-step rhinestones, one-step studs. Your Gem Magic comes with over 300 studs, rhinestones, and stars of all different shapes and sizes. That's right, 300. Plus, you'll also get the Gem Magic Transfer Kit, including the Gem Magic Transfer Tool, 200 of Kathy's favorite patterns, and her very special Design Ideas booklet, all for just 2 payments of $24.95. And how's this for a really cool bonus? It's the amazing Mini Magic, and it's yours free with every order. Now you can Gem Magic anywhere. Shoes, pockets, lampshades, curtains, you name it. The possibilities are endless. You get it all for just 2 payments of $24.95. But wait! Today, when you call and order, we're going to double the offer. You'll get a second complete Gem Magic system absolutely free. You just pay the shipping and handling.
And here's my guarantee to you. If you don't love Gem Magic, send it back within 30 days, but keep the patterns and my design ideas book, as well as any of the studs you've already used as my special gift to you. That's how sure I am that you're going to love the Gem Magic.
Call the number on your screen to find out how you can get in on this incredible Gem Magic offer. 2 complete Gem Magic kits, including 2 of our amazing mini magics, all for just 2 payments of $24.95. And over 600 studs, rhinestones, and stars. Don't miss your chance to add some Gem Magic to your world. Call now.
I name this ship Titanic.
An unsinkable ship.
Iceberg, dead ahead!
An unthinkable tragedy. A night to remember. Tuesday at 8 Eastern on Vision TV.
You come down the steps, you open the glass door, and you enter what looks like a passage, but in fact it's the front part of the church. We're in the narthex of the church, the vestibule, if you like. That, of course, means something. It means the Garden of Eden. This is the myth of the Bible. The people are singing the exultet, part of which describes what Christians mean by the sin of Adam, to disobey God and try and eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Knowledge, man's desire for knowledge, and they're coming to consciousness. That moment of consciousness is very important in a human life. And that song says, "Oh, happy fault of Adam, what a wonderful sin he committed," because we are now going to be redeemed by God. That's the meaning of that song, that the church represents the saving of the human race after they have come to consciousness and committed the sin of disobedience. The narthex is the unconscious human being who doesn't realize what they're doing yet. And when you do, you move on and you begin your life proper. Then you turn right, and then the church just opens up before you. You have this wonderful volume that you suddenly enter. And you don't realize you're doing it because you're turning towards the light. When you leave the narthex, you step into the rest of your life, as you do after that moment that all of us have of coming to consciousness when you're a child. You suddenly realize that I'm me. What we have now before us is a road symbolizing the road of life towards transcendence and eternity. We've got to keep changing. Christianity is a religion about change. On either side, you have columns, which are like trees. So the columns turn the road into an avenue. So the avenue is leading you on. And then you reach the altar, which means the place of encounter with God. You have an appointment with God. Past, present, future, time and space, man and God, all of this meets and creates a whole. You have this experience of oneness. This is the mystical experience par excellence. And a church helps you to achieve that. A church piles meaning upon meaning. The road of life is called the nave, which means the ship. So that another level of meaning in a church is that of navigation. We are sailing. Remember that in the ancient world, in the Mediterranean world, it was very difficult to travel on roads. So travel was done mostly by ship. You have a captain of the ship who is Jesus. And remember, of course, the 12 apostles were fishermen. The isles are from the word ala, which means wings in Latin. And they're always going up and down, we're always said to be like wings. The sail represents the love of Christ, or the Holy Spirit blowing you along, giving you speed. And we are all sitting in this ship together, members of this group that is making for the transcendent. We are sailing east in a church towards the dawn of eternity. Columns are physical objects which hold the roof up, but the meaning of it has grown up through the centuries. Columns represent all believers, anybody who supports the church. So they are almost like little people. We carry the church as believers. This is a famous example of virtuoso column carving. It's ancient Roman, and it's got 140 grooves which meet up at the bottom, meet up at the top. You can't imagine the virtuosity of the person who could do this and work it all out and keep it all straight and everything with a chisel and a mallet. We are the living stones that make the church. We are the columns. But not only that, there's also a reference always in a church to the Jews who walked the Exodus, the journey of liberation into the desert. And when they did that, they carried a tent with them on poles. And that tent had the Ark of the Covenant in it. And the church has the same thing. We have a tent, and that all represents the march, again, a journey of liberation from oppression. And that is the great story that lies behind Christianity. The altar in a Catholic church is a table where a sacred meal is given out to the people. It is a simple, simple thing, bread and wine. And yet it says the most profound mystery. It is the place of encounter between the divine and the human. In all the ancient temples, the altar was outside the temple because it was a site of death and blood, and it was violent. When people are at each other's throats, they turn on each other. And the way they can stop turning on each other is to turn on a victim. Say, it's his fault. He caused all this. A Christian altar serves to end sacrifice. You do not achieve communion through murdering a victim by cutting an animal's throat or a person's throat. You achieve communion through God, who underwent the death on our behalf. We've done that, and it's finished. It's been forgiven, and God has shown by the most ultimate means that he really loves us. And having loved us, we now have the strength, the illumination, the gratitude to go out of this church and give that love to other people. And that happens here during our lives. And then beyond our death, we have before us eternal life, lux perpetua, eternal light. And that is the meaning of the apse. The apse is the round part where Agnes now stands. The church is like a box, and at the end there is a round section, and it's an embracing thing. And anything that's round is to do with eternity in the symbolism of churches. That shape is a human body. So the body is laid out before you. The entry place is the feet of the body, and the paradiso is the head of the body. The body image is essential to a church, as it is in the hopscotch game. The child is plugged into this thing, this system of images. The child is hopping towards his destiny. It's rehearsing its life journey. Paradise is lost at the narthex. Paradise is regained in the apse, or the paradiso of the hopscotch game.
Paradiso.
I should imagine that the children's game derived from the church and the knowledge that everyone has that paradiso is the end of life.
Paradiso.
He picks up a stone, right? That little stone represents reality, the truth, his encounter with God, his self, all these things together. He's got it. I've got it. And he hops out, because his job now is to go out into the world and bring that insight he had, that experience he had, that liberation he had to others who haven't got it. That is very important in the church too. It's extraordinary that a child's game can hold all this symbolism. One of the ways to reach Agnes's tomb, which is underneath the altar here, is to go through the catacombs. You just go down the steps, and there are these warrens of tunnels everywhere, all around here. There are 60 catacombs in Rome, and some of them are 8 miles long. Sant'Agnese is quite a small catacomb, and yet they found 5,753 graves here. And these here are little ones for babies. So 1, 2, 3. Quite often there are bones still left in them. We don't know how much smell there was. Some people say it didn't, because they very, very carefully embalmed the bodies and wrapped them up and put lime in. But it still must have been very smelly down here. These tunnels were all dug out by hand. And here we have a monument of one of the people who dug the catacombs. And here he is with his pick and the dirt falling into a basket. And on the other side, he would have shown a burning brand, or a lamp like this, with which he lit his way down into these tunnels. The catacombs lasted from about the 2nd to the 6th century AD, and they are unique evidence of how poor people lived in those days. This is an image of Saint Agnes at prayer, with her hands raised like this, as the early Christians used to pray. And of course you have to remember that this whole cemetery grew up all around her grave because people wanted to be buried near her. You can see the catacombs as a sort of labyrinth. In an ancient myth, in the middle of a labyrinth, there's a monster. In the Christian view of things, what lies at the heart of a labyrinth is an epiphany. It is contact with God. At the end of this trip through the catacombs, you arrive at the grave of Agnes, underneath the altar. You're free to make of it what you like. For example, what you most want in life. Who am I? What is the meaning of this little girl? This tomb is deep in the earth, and it rises up through the altar, up and up through the canopy, through the apse, and then out of the church, up, up, up to the top of the spire. And the next is heaven. You can experience that if you stand in front of the tomb of this little girl and let it happen. You experience what Jesus said, I will raise you up. This is called the leap of faith. It's a kind of resurrection.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you in part by One, the Body, Mind, and Spirit channel.
Deep within your hair lies precious color. Reveal it with Pantene expressions for brunettes, blondes, and reds. ChromaShine Pro Vitamin formulas bring out the jewel-like intensity of your color, so every blazing facet is lit with brilliance. Reveal your color's jewel-like intensity. Experience the new look of the Pantene Expressions Hair Care Collection. That's the beauty of healthy-looking hair. And now try new highlight-enhancing expressions for blondes.
What's the perfect holiday gift for those who love scents? It's called Scent Stories. Scent Stories plays a collection of candle-like scents with the push of a button. Scent Stories by Febreze.
Wonder if they're getting the job done right when they go on their own? Now there's something different to help make sure they get really clean. Introducing new Charmin Extra Strong, now with Flex Weave. Uniquely woven fibers that hold up better than the regular kitten brand. So it's stronger and really soft. To help your family get the job done right, try new Charmin Extra Strong, best for bare bottoms. Charmin.
Clean feels good. That's why New Always Clean is the first and only line of pads to come attached with individually wrapped wipes. So you get a little lift with every change. Have a happy period. Always.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could unlock the value in your home and get the money to help your grandchildren?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Pay off your debts.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Update your home.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Well, if you're 60 or older, a CHIP home income plan can help you turn some of the equity in your home into $20,000 to $500,000 in tax-free cash. There's no payment required, and you maintain control and ownership of your home. Call now for your free Wouldn't It Be Nice guide. It explains how to unlock the value in your home with a CHIP home income plan by turning up to 40% of the equity in your home into tax-free cash. And never make a payment until you choose to move or sell. Wouldn't it be nice to unlock some of the value in your home and enjoy life on your terms?
Call 1-866-450-2447 now for your free guide.
Searching for Mr. Right, Jane Austen style.
To love is to burn, to be on fire.
My heart is yours.
Sense and Sensibility, Tuesday, October 24th at 8 Eastern on Vision TV. You're watching Vision TV.
I had a conversion which happened like that, just in a second. My whole life changed. It was February the 22nd, 1982, and I was 42, and I'll never forget it. I never hated the church, but I always thought, really, I've moved on. It was very cute and interesting and anthropological and historical, but I didn't believe it. I wasn't against it. I just thought that, aren't those people cute keeping it up? The whole thing was a totally devastating surprise. I'm Margaret Visser, and I wrote a book, about 5 years ago, on a church in Rome. And they're now doing a documentary of it. And they wanted to know how come I wrote this book. I had a religious conversion. Believe this or not, it's absolutely true, I can vouch for it. Under that light over there, we were doing aerobics. And at the end of the class, I was lying on the floor over there, and the teacher said, "Now turn over."
All the way over. Right to your back.
And I turned over and I looked up into that light, and my whole life changed. I didn't try for it, I didn't deserve it, I didn't work on it. It just happened, and it happened in this classroom.
5, 6, 7, 8.
When I had my experience in the gym, it was like, bam! And in the course of that, I saw everything, all in one go. Everything. And I thought, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? And there was a proposition, it was an invitation. What do you want? And I made the choice at that moment. I find it extraordinary to come back here. And it's a perfectly ordinary place. That's the wonderful thing about it. It's the most unlikely spot I can imagine for having a religious conversion. I mean, really. It's strange. You understand why people go to a place where something happened, because it really gets inside you. I came rushing over here. I must have been panting because I was running. I came in this door over here, and there was a priest. And I came up to him and I said, "I haven't been to confession for 15 years. And he said, "I have to leave in 3 minutes. I'm afraid, come back tomorrow." And he left. And when I think back on it now, it is a sort of joke from God. You know, I really feel that the church is not going to be easy. Okay, but believe me, he couldn't have stopped me, because I knew that this is where I had to come. I wanted to join the church again. I went away, but about a week later, I came back here again. And I walked in and I sat down over there. And that was my second mystic experience of God. It was incredible because I was praying and God interrupted my prayer. I was saying something and he said the opposite. Because I knew that it wasn't me speaking. Because he interrupted me. I felt I was healed. It was an unbelievably powerful thing. I've had a lot of suffering in my life, a huge amount. Then it went on, and it's still going on. But I can bear it because of this thing that happened to me in that place. I was awake to life. And that just released in me huge amounts of energy, saying, yes. I think that's what the human will is for. is to say yes to God and mean it. Nothing is more important in anyone's life than that. In the early days, the day of death of a martyr was called their birthday. That's what a feast day is. It's a memory of the day of their death in the case of a martyr. And the birthday of Agnes was the 21st of January. And this has been celebrated for 1,700 years. Red in church liturgy stands for blood and for the fire of conviction. It stands for martyrs. There are many saints in Rome, but Agnes has always been a favourite, and they come to the Festival of the Lambs. Agnes, because she's totally non-violent, she's like a lamb. Agnes was a 12-year-old girl who was murdered. We know the day she was killed, the 21st of January. We know the year 305. She was almost certainly killed by the sword because the Roman emperor had made a decree that all Christians must worship the deities of Rome or else die. And we're told that the Roman prefect's son saw her, fell in love with her, and asked her to marry him and become a rich woman. And she said, forget it, I'm already married. I'm married to Christ. He was absolutely furious, this is how the story goes. He went to his father and said, you know that this woman is a Christian. And the father called her before him and said, okay, worship the goddess Athena, Minerva. And she said no, and he said, choose, either become a Vestal virgin and worship Athena, Minerva in Rome, for the rest of your life, or be dragged off to a brothel. Choose. And she said, I choose the brothel. She's a new kind of hero. What is being born is the individual. In my opinion, all the great movements towards human rights, towards freedom for women, the rights of the individual against the state. Here is the story. Here is the little girl who said no to the state, and then was admired for having done that.
Avoid unwanted leftovers. Cascade 2-in-1 Action Packs. The scrubbing power of Cascade meets the grease-fighting power of Dawn. So even this sticky food won't stick. Cascade 2-in-1 Action Packs. Dishwashing that's truly automatic.
This is the story of 4 women, each frustrated with a tough cleaning problem. Until one day when their lives were magically transformed by the new Mr. Clean Extra Power. It out-cleans caked-on grease and stubborn rust. It powers through built-up soap scum. It even tackles tough limescale. With Mr. Clean Extra Power, a promise made is a promise kept.
Look at this room, it's a mess. And what is this I found under the bed?
Broom and dustpan letting you down? Get the Swiffer Sweeper. Picks up hair better than a broom. Swiffer gives cleaning a whole new meaning.
Metamucil presents The Regulars.
Bob, red, check. Bob, red, check. Bob, red, check.
If you want to get regular,
Bob, red, check.
take Metamucil and get regular the natural source way.
Na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye.
Honey, do you have to sing that song every time you use that thing?
Yeah.
Wherever you go, Tide to go.
When you listen to live music, something magical happens. Now you can enjoy this magic at home with the Wave Music System from Bose. Murray Hill of the Can West News Service says, everyone is astonished at the sound. You can hear every nuance. Forbes FYI says, you'll think you're listening to a system that costs 5 times more. Just slide in your favorite CD or MP3 CD, or listen to FM or AM. You'll experience the difference Bose technology makes. And add the multi-CD changer for even more enjoyment. Call now to receive a free information kit. You'll learn more about the Wave Music System, our 30-day risk-free trial, and our financing options. Or if you order now, you'll receive free shipping. The Bose Wave Music System. Hear what you've been missing.
On the next Wonderfalls.
Pat?
Fat Pat.
Welcome to our home.
Get it away! You guys suck!
I don't want this night to end either.
Monday at 10 on Vision TV. Searching for Mr. Right, Jane Austen style.
To love is to burn, to be on fire.
My heart is yours.
Sense and Sensibility. Tuesday, October 24th at 8 Eastern on Vision TV.
We're now in Piazza Navona. It's in the shape of a circus, long and narrow with rounded ends. It was a Roman circus at the time, and the spectators sat round the edge of the circus. And underneath the seats where the audience sat were arches. Those arches in Latin had the name fornix, meaning like ovens. And prostitutes used to stand inside those fornices. And that's, of course, where we get the word fornication in English. And that is where the church of Sant'Agnese in Agone now is, exactly over the fornices. We go down underneath the church, and here is the place where people said Agnes stood in the brothel and was executed. We begin with a painting here of an angel giving her a beautiful white robe when she enters the brothel. This is a 17th century painting. Yeah. This says Agnes, when she came into this place of shame, found the angel of the Lord ready to save her. This is an extraordinary bas-relief here, showing how Agnes was led by Roman soldiers naked through the streets of Rome. But as she walked, her hair grew long, so long that it went down to her feet and covered her body. This is actually underneath the seats of the spectators who sat around the circus, so that if the story of Agnes were true, this is indeed where it would have happened. This is the very floor that people thought she stood. And above her, on the ceiling, there's some beautiful 8th century paintings, angels. Lovely, beautiful things. And we come here and we get a quotation that says, Veni sponsa Christi accipe coronam, which means, come bride of Christ, receive your crown. And this is the answer to the promise that she had made to Christ. She had promised herself in marriage to Christ. She refused the prefect's son. She accepted death for it. The legend is that although she was standing as a prostitute in the forniques, although people tried to rape her, they failed. No way. But one thing we do know about the ancient Romans is that they really were frightened of murdering a virgin. A virgin represented for them something of tremendous power. So what they did was, first you rape them, then you murder them. Because people felt that if a woman is raped, she's finished. When they insist against the facts that she must have been a virgin, it means that they couldn't have thought of her as a hero, because then she's sort of reduced by having been raped. This is absolutely appalling, because this is what Christianity is there to put to an end. But it has survived. Agnes is virgin and martyr, because we have a lamb dressed in red for the martyr and one dressed in white for the virgin. From a Christian point of view, a virgin is primarily about integrity of soul, about singleness of heart. And yet, the church is very conservative. It would be far better if the church said that she has a double identity of both raped and killed. She had a double martyrdom. If you think she was saved by all sorts of miracles and she managed not to be raped, then it's not even a Christian story. It's an ancient Greek, Roman story. And you'd think that we would have got over it by now.
I pastori della chiesa che saranno rivestiti del sacro palio.
The lambs are brought from a monastery up near Pisa. They're taken to the Pope, who blesses them. And when they've grown up, they are shorn, and the wool from those two lambs are woven into palliums. These are long white strips of wool that the Pope wears over his shoulders. Jesus said to Peter, "Feed my lambs, be the shepherd of my people." And the Pope wears the fleece of these lambs the way a shepherd used to carry a lamb over his shoulders. Every time the Pope appears in public, he wears this pallium, as do all archbishops. It's the job of an institution to be conservative, but it can also not follow through on the revolutionary aspect of Christianity. The church has got to clean up its act about women. I myself, I'm a feminist, and I find the church's attitude towards women absolutely infuriating very often. we talk, we argue, and there's always a chance to fix it because there is really goodwill in the church. You don't have to pay attention to churches, but it's an awful pity not to. I mean, there's so much here. It's so beautiful, it's so rich, and it's you. You come from this. Christianity is the foundation of the entire culture of the West. And the reason why society keeps working is because we are living on this huge capital of values that have been given to us by Christianity. That's because religion is incredibly intense. And when it goes wrong, it goes intensely wrong. But that doesn't mean to say we shouldn't have any at all, because we don't have anything going intensely right either. I, myself, believe that with Christianity, a light came on. The light really is God cares and loves me personally. This is the healing of the world. This is the redemption of the world. It makes a person know that they can, that they are free, that they are allowed. To have that conviction inside you is to liberate every energy that you have. You want to give and give and give out of gratitude for knowing that you are loved by God. That's the heart of the whole thing.
Deep within